Hi everyone, Rebecca here. Thank you again for watching us on this Thursday, 2 p.m. CET. We have another live, and today we're going to talk about circularity by design versus greenwashing with Alberto Pacino. Thank you, Alberto, for coming, for putting together this amazing presentation. I'm really excited to share with you all. So,
Thank you
let
for
me
having me.
tell you a little bit about him. Background in industrial design, a marketeer for many years, and he's seen the evolution of marketing throughout the years and the trends into sustainability. And that's one of the areas that he covers now. And product management, product design, because it is heavily affected by the trends and the changes that have been brought with the sustainability agenda, but also with COVID accelerating all of these changes. And so he has decided to tell us about this sort of taboo topic, the greenwashing, and it's not versus circularity being an enabler of sustainability, but what is green, what is not, essentially, right? Because that's kind of where we're heading with the topic of today. A lot of people talk about sustainability, very few people are doing it. It's a little bit like blockchain. So what is it that will help us create frames, so that we can identify, okay, this is solid, this is not so credible, and he is going to give us this perspective. So I'll let you take it away. Tell us maybe a little bit about your experience to begin with, and then maybe we can dive into the topic.
Yes, thank you. As you said, I started as an industrial designer. Then I almost immediately switched to marketing, brand management, and all the way through the digital transformation of the marketing function.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, also thanks to my previous professional experience, I learned a lot about sustainability in theory and in practice. And last year, I took this beautiful course at the University of Cambridge that you recommended me, by the way. I found out uh, how actually it is possible to create businesses that have a positive impact, not only on one bottom line that is the traditional one, but to be sustainable, how they can include a positive mm, effect on from their operation on people and planet.
Yeah.
So what we normally refer as the triple bottom line. Um, Greenwashing is definitely not part of this framework because greenwashing is basically a marketing trick. It is a marketing tactic. It is um, using the sustainability language, keeping business as usual.
Yeah.
And I love this definition that I only recently learned. I got it from a uh, short movie that I strongly recommend to everyone who is interested in fast fashion and sustainability.
Yeah.
That are two things that hardly ever belong together in the same sentence,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, this short movie is called Fashionscapes, and it's directed by Andrew Morgan and written. It comes from an idea of Olivia Firth, that
Mm-hmm.
is the founder of Eco Age. So these are 17 beautifully spent minutes of your life if you want to learn more about circularity in the fast fashion industry.
Oh, we
Uh,
need to share the link. Then you'll send it to us, and we can put it below the live
Absolutely,
post.
we'll do
Yeah,
that. Um, these basically this description of greenwashing, I find it so cool and so fitting, and it has influenced basically the today's talk, because I think it's actually there is no better way than this to describe greenwashing. I mean, greenwashing is not something that is usually done with a deliberate intention to harm. In
yeah,
general, it's not. Um, Greenwashing is a practice that is basically aiming at tricking the consumer into believing that a product or service has characteristics that are eco-friendly, while the product
truthfully.
doesn't have any.
But
Yeah. um,
do you think that this is somehow a sales boost, or do you feel that's the
uh,
reason why, or they want? I mean, who are they trying to impress with those statements?
well, they are trying to impress a consumer group that is undoubtedly there.
Yeah,
We hear all the time talking about millennials and Generation Z to be really um, into what brands do for the environment, into their purpose and motivations behind the product, the simple product. So there is definitely an audience. Um, we know that a wide share of consumers puts sustainability or sustainable practices very high on their preference list when they choose a product or service.
yeah.
Of course, this varies also across industries or across products. For example, we don't see that so clearly in beauty care
Yeah, cosmetics.
or
Yeah.
cosmetics. Of course, I mean, there we want a product that does the job, no, that does the job as
As brutally as possible.
brutally as possible, exactly. Um, but in certain commoditized goods or
We can compromise, like the toothpaste or the toothbrush.
exactly, exactly. So
Okay, makes
uh,
sense.
these this interest in sustainability matters, as you pointed out at the beginning, grew even stronger after the pandemic or
Yeah,
during the pandemic.
yeah.
A research by Google shows that 82% of consumers consider as important different scenarios anyway, or considering different product categories.
Mhm.
Anyway, consider important the product to be somehow sustainable, or the brand to have somehow a sustainable or a sustainability orientated purpose. So this is why companies do that. And unfortunately, changing the business model to be really sustainable
Sustainable, it takes a lot of
is
work.
somehow complicated. Therefore, it is much more opportunistic and comfortable to switch to a claim of sustainability. And unfortunately, the claim doesn't really find a reason to be into the practice.
Let me share with the audience what you've put together, because I think this is quite the presentation on the topic. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Yeah,
Um,
this
yeah,
is really like a joke, no? This is the typical thing that as soon as we read something like this, we should immediately kind of
100% natural.
exactly,
This is the red light that should pop into the consumer's minds, right? Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Um,
and we see those statements, those claims, and perhaps they do boost sales and interest from the consumers, as you were mentioning.
for sure, they create a positive um, predisposition towards the product in
Towards the
those
yeah.
categories of consumers that are looking for sustainable products.
So here you say, okay, what is greenwashing? This definition is something you quoted from, I think, this movie you mentioned, correct?
Yeah, there are a few. There is no clear definition of greenwashing, and I don't think it's even so important to somehow define it properly or univocally, although we have to be aware of what it means in the practice, first and
Yeah,
foremost. Um, as I said, it is a deceptive marketing tactic.
yeah,
It is something that occurs very late on the product development stage. As a marketing practice, it's not something that kind of motivates the design of the product or the idea behind the product, but it is something that we apply as a label or as a coat of paint, as
yes.
the
That's the
suggests,
painting here. Yeah,
to
yeah,
a product that was usually there before.
yeah.
So
Yeah, like the bottled, the boxed water is better than the bottled water.
yeah,
Therefore, yeah, yeah,
this is something that is clearly an exaggeration,
yeah.
and I don't
But
think
it
that.
sells.
But it kind of gives you the idea.
Yeah,
It is something that appeals to a very emotional part of our behavior, and
yeah. Because yeah, and selling, I mean, buying is an emotional decision. So I
but
guess it hits
absolutely.
the right spot.
There are
Let
so
me,
many different neurotransmitters that are somehow um, flattered or
yeah,
sustainability
claims.
themes,
So what is
claims
this
themes.
68 versus 82%? So
Yes,
60,
basically, as we said, 68% of consumers basically have a positive um, intention towards sustainable products. So they are
yeah,
looking for sustainable products. Uh,
okay,
we, uh, and this is a research from 2019, I think, and it's very interesting to see how throughout the pandemic this percentage exploded
increased. Yeah,
82%.
yeah,
Mm, so it is clear that there are uh, important factors that are somehow um, making us
influencing. Yeah,
realize that
yeah,
that is the direction where we should go.
yeah,
On the other hand,
definitely.
yeah, the routes that companies choose to follow up to these specific customer requests are not actually always the best ones.
So one of the questions from the audience, actually, it's Stephanie. She was with us 2 weeks ago at the live. Hey, yeah. So there is no clear definition, but most people tend to identify indeed when marketing is exaggerating. So, um, I mean, it shows up in the marketing strategy, the greenwashing, right? That's where we see it, and I guess that's where we catch it. Is
Well,
there any other way to identify it?
there was a lot of discussion a couple of months ago. It was the Unilever case that you know for sure, and that we don't want to open that can of worms today, because it's one of those topics that would require an afternoon. It's clear that uh, in the last 2-3 years, we have seen um, brands trying to find desperately to find a green purpose
Mm.
to make theirs. Uh, every brand should have a purpose. This is out of discussion, and the brand purpose is also different from the company purpose, or, in my opinion, should often be different, because for example, in the specific case, we have a company like Unilever that could have a green purpose, I mean, or green values that they try to achieve, but not necessarily a brand of mayonnaise, for example, that they
Mhm.
commercialize, should point towards that direction. Again, what are we looking for in a mayonnaise? That it does the job.
Yeah.
We don't want it to save the planet. We want it to
Oh my God, I love this.
we want it to do a
Yeah,
job that is
yeah,
very simple.
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
and, uh, and
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 there's a lot
here,
of confusion there. I love that you point this out. Mm.
I think we went a little bit on board,
Overboard, yeah.
overboard. Sorry, with this rush towards green claims or green purposes,
Yeah.
which are great, but sometimes not
You're not
exactly.
solving the problem. Yeah. Creating new ones. Huh,
Uh,
interesting. And you were just saying that there are some companies, what, like in this slide, you talk about what they do. One of the
yes,
examples you're giving here, I mean, maybe you just go through it. Maybe
it
I don't
is
know
a
how.
it is a very simple recognition over what usually brands do, or where is greenwashing mostly applied. Um, in general, as we said, um, it is just a green coating over the product in order to enhance positive claims over maybe slightly less positive ones. Typical case is, we are all very aware that packaging should be recyclable, or these kind
Mm,
of things. So, okay, a recyclable packaging on a washing powder, for example. Yes, okay, I'm super happy that the packaging is recyclable, but then what are the chemicals, and or what happens with the
yeah,
product inside? So
yeah,
I'm super happy that you recycle the packaging or
yeah,
use recycled paper, but
yeah,
then you are destroying the planet every time that I use your product.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is a little bit the thing.
The challenge, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Or things that you can't verify with data because there's no available data
that
points.
is another thing. It's one very complicated thing, I think, is to go to the source and find out what really an environmental impact is. It is very difficult to determine, and for consumers, almost impossible.
To evaluate. Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
at the same time, we see all the very frequently, like, claims that are vague or too broad. As we said, 100% natural. What does it even mean in a
yeah,
deodorant? Or
yeah,
um, yeah, something that is not um, sharp enough for consumers to immediately understand. So basically, you just appeal to an emotional reaction, and you basically don't say anything with your claim, but it
yeah,
just sounds good.
Or it's
Uh,
just lazy. We're not washing the towels because we're saving the chemicals. So reuse your towels in hotels, kind of. Yeah,
that was a very good example.
yeah,
I mean, that is a very typical. And again, I want to underline how this is not harmful per se. It
yeah,
becomes harmful eventually because basically it makes consumers follow out of love of
yeah. With the brand. Yeah.
from brands, but also from a whole um,
Experience, I guess.
commitment that we should all have and take really seriously. Because I mean, despite all the fear of bad science, I mean, there is an environmental challenge that is real, and
Yeah,
can't ignore that.
yeah, yeah. And it's not addressing the challenge. It's well,
No,
okay. So, what would you say in terms of like why is it bad? Why should we avoid it as companies? Like you're explaining here on
yeah,
your PowerPoint.
I mean, the most immediate consequences are that it jeopardizes your brand reputation. And in the
Yeah,
era of social media, once you basically are out with a sustainability claim that mm, is proved wrong or
yeah,
fake, then you don't want to be in that position to start rebuilding again. And
yeah,
um, so it alienates external stakeholders like customers, but in my opinion, also internal ones, because um, there are companies that really didn't even do greenwashing as a marketing tactic, but sometimes they were really, consciously trying to go get away with the murder with
yeah,
the it was clearly the case. I mean, it was very famous of many um, car makers that used softwares that would some counterfeit softwares that would basically give a lower result in terms of emission. um,
yeah. But also in terms of efficiency, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and these clearly turned out to be uh,
Disaster.
really a disaster, but also on the internal side, in the internal front,
Yeah,
their own with their own employees. And when your employees stop endorsing you, especially in this
yeah.
kind of with this kind of values, it becomes really, really
So the
complicated.
internal stakeholders here, what's going on? I can't keep up because we're saying something to our
Yeah, or
customers,
I
but
mean,
internally, yeah, it's a different game. Mhm.
there was a survey that was run on the employees of those car brands after, and it was clearly showing that they had fallen out of love. They felt betrayed, or
Yeah, like here you say 66% of
in
consumers
this case,
agree. Yeah,
exactly. Here we are talking about. I mean,
that they don't
we,
walk the
we have seen
talk.
why companies do that.
Yeah,
We might not have a full grasp on, yeah, but in the end they do it clear. But is it working or not? I mean,
it's
are
not
consumers?
clearly.
No, it doesn't work. Or better, in the midterm, it doesn't work. So 66% of customers. This is I think Deloitte survey that was made in the UK in 2021. So these are pretty fresh data. Um, they understand that many brands that they say they care about the environment, in the end, they are failing on proving what they are doing, or they are not proving it with the due. Uh,
With
they are
the
not.
data points. Yeah. So yeah, so In the
And
short term, it's a good
then,
strategy. The long term, it's a bad strategy. The
yes,
greenwashing.
but
Okay,
it is anyway uh,
it's a bad thing.
bad thing
Oh,
because of what we said. Like in the end, it hurts your performances, it hurts your credibility, it hurts your profitability, and ultimately, and this is interesting. I mean, in car manufacture, there are not a lot of truly sustainable
yeah,
practices. On the other hand, I know that Renault, for example, has started a few years ago a circularity program for some plastic parts of their cars. Of course, it is not a high percentage, but it's something, and it's clear that uh, potentially um, speeding up or rewarding these practices would also make them achieve better performances in terms of percentage of recycled parts that end up into a new car. On the other hand, the important thing here is that no one knows it, or very little people know it.
yeah.
Everybody used to know of the diesel cars that had low pollution performances because of what we just said. But so basically, those claims, stronger marketing, um, basically put Renault, that is actually doing something good, out of the spectrum. So I mean, all the brands that I'm mentioning, we are not anyway related.
Associated to them. Yeah, it's good to mention that.
So there is no chance of
Okay, well then, what is it that people want? The consumers want. I see here you're listing a few things. Tell us.
it's interesting. This is again from the same survey run by Deloitte. Uh, so most of people, 44%, would want a clearer commitment towards waste reduction. This is, in my opinion, extremely important. Producing sustainable packaging and adopting circular practices, and then we will see what we mean by that, is also very high up in these specific ranking. And I find it also very interesting because this is not usually what you would expect by a customer base that is maybe willing to do good, but not really empowered to do so, or not really cultivated enough to do so. And instead, here we see that the awareness of consumers is growing also in terms of competence. Um, of course, reducing carbon footprint is also very high up.
Yeah.
And then we have two mm,
Human.
desires
Yeah.
that are very, I think, in line with what you are kind of promoting with your cycle of content, that is, inclusivity and
Yeah.
better. mm, More ethical working practices, or
Yeah.
a higher respect of human rights, these kind of things that are very descriptive of the times
Yeah.
we're living.
So I was just thinking, yeah, so that was your question to for us to reflect on. So how do you reduce that, but at the same time you bring an impact, because it's a difficult balance to achieve, and you came up with a very complex equation that you can explain to us. Perhaps tell us a little bit about how you see this.
Here is a diagram that actually describes the context. So we have um, system changes, because we will in the forthcoming years, in the forthcoming 25 to 30 years, see many things change in the world. I mean, if we only think uh, where we used to be 30 years ago,
Yeah.
um, so we can uh, imagine how fast and mm, really disruptive the mm, world that is waiting for us will be like. So, growing population, a higher exploitation of uh, resources,
Yeah.
regardless, or a higher need for resources, regardless if they are renewable or not. But in general, we claim for more resources.
Yeah.
When we buy a Tesla car, it's not that we stop
Yeah.
needing energy. We
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
different
A
energy,
different source.
but
Yeah.
the requirement for energy will keep growing.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, do you see this tying up to the circular economy? Because that's where you wanted to, I think, take the audience. So, what is it? How does this link to what you just presented in terms of the greenwashing? Is that a solution? Is that like an opposite? How do you angle
well,
it?
yeah, I mean, we introduced it as a kind of um, uh, an alternative to greenwashing, although like circularity and greenwashing don't belong to the same ballpark, no, at all. Um, I found it really interesting anyway to see how a practice, greenwashing, as we said, is a marketing practice. So it happens very late down the line of product development, while circularity requires you to think about your product or service and how it's going to impact. So
Your
basically,
audience.
uh,
Yeah.
it's uh, its sustainable claim is what shapes the product. So this is what I find really interesting. Now that it goes back to the roots, back to the idea of the product.
So tell us a little bit about this slide. I think this was the most the one that really helped me
Yeah,
solidify the concept. How do you see a linear, production line versus a circular production line, and how I think you really caught the essence of it here. Maybe you can tell us more about this.
I have to say I'm not the mastermind behind this. I mean, these are
No, it's fine.
it is nothing that I kind of produced myself.
But
I
it's really speaking, I think, the the
Absolutely. No,
the
no. It
the
is
image.
basically, I think, what we need to understand about the linear model is that it is, as the word say, really working in a continuity like um, take, make, and waste.
Yeah,
So I take resources. So the at the top we have the blue arrow that kind of points
goes down. Yeah,
downwards. You
yeah,
have the use only a little bit of these resources, renewable or not, are re-enter the process, re-enter.
yeah.
So we have a very two very thin
Lines.
arrows
Yeah,
that re-enter the
the
process.
production. Yeah,
And then you have basically an output, so a waste that is not equal but very similar to the resources that you needed to use to produce that product.
yeah,
And then there is a different model that is a more circular approach, what we define as circular approach, that of course needs resources to somehow initiate the product, the life cycle,
hmm,
and then you have a much fatter
yeah.
couple of arrows
Reabsorb.
there
Yeah,
that because basically you um, are able to reuse, recycle, repurpose, or
Yeah.
remanufacture, or
Yeah.
refurbish, or repair that
Hmm.
product, extending its life cycle far beyond what
What is initially planned
it
for?
is
Yeah.
exactly. And this is a little bit the principle behind the circular economy. Basically, it is a um, as you correctly said at the very beginning of this conversation, circular economy is an enabler of sustainability, because it's clear that, I mean, we, if we take the linear model, and if we get better at recycling or reusing part of the resources that we need to manufacture products, of course we get better, we need less natural resources, but in the end we only stretch a little bit um, the timeline towards total depletion of resources. Whereas if we start with a circular approach, we know that, of course, you will, as I said, always need resources to initiate the process.
Yeah.
But of
But
course, it doesn't compare.
yeah,
The wasted part of this product
it's
will
smaller.
will be smaller and smaller and smaller, tending to non-existing. So the
So it's managing
general,
waste, right? I mean, to simplify.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Uh,
That's interesting because you gave some really great examples of brands who have managed their prime,
because
materials. Yeah.
exactly, I mean, this is, I think, very important, because what we want to prove is that it's not just something cool that is economically unviable. I mean,
It is viable because you say this in the next slide. Is it just for hippies? No. I mean, it's a big business
yeah,
that, it's
uh,
4.5 trillion opportunity in terms of this model you're suggesting, right?
absolutely. And for once, the European Union is quite at the front, leading the game, because there were actually some very specific uh, struggles put in place to achieve a higher level of circularity. For example, right now in the world, I mean, the world is only 8.6% circular at the present moment in time. So there is a lot that needs to be done.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, there, as always, there is a lot of work to be done, and as a consequence, a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
For example, circularity will probably be able to create something along the lines of 700,000 new um, um,
Job
new
of the
jobs.
future. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
That don't exist yet. Hmm.
and we don't know what, as a consequence, as a like a spin-off of circular economy practices will kind of come out, that is completely new and we can't foresee at the moment. So
Yeah.
um,
How
the
about you were just saying, how do you design this?
yeah,
Because
what I really like about the idea is that, and here again, when you speak about circularity, circular economy, main thought goes to the supply chain. In
yeah,
general, when
exactly.
a sustainability issue is raised,
Yeah.
you think about the supply chain. And I mean, supply chain is absolutely key in a truly circular process. But it is not my expertise. No, my expertise stays in product. And what I found really interesting and refreshing to some extent is that these practices will take the product and put it back at the center. So the product is again the star of the show.
Yeah.
It is not the it,
The
not just
green
how you
aspect.
market it,
Yeah.
but it is how you conceive it and create it. And again, the triple, quadruple job that you ask the product to do. This is
Yeah.
something that I find extremely fascinating.
And the
Uh,
why is here. You sent also the reason behind you want to be doing this to give
yes,
economic profitability. Uh, Waste management is definitely a king, and then the future job market that we're preparing for. It seems that these jobs don't even exist yet. I mean, people in with your type of expertise are rare, rare pearls in the market. And that's why, I mean, the topic is so relevant because we just don't hear enough about it to have an opinion and understand what's green, what's not. Um,
no, again, it's extremely difficult to spot it. I mean, of course, there are. I mean, a standard consumer can refer to those quality labels or green labels, although I don't think it's usually uh, a reliable indicator, because we should know uh, the plethora of labels that are around, if they
yeah,
are exactly competent or not.
yeah,
The certification has been just simply bought. So is it another way of greenwashing your product to have a medal on your chest, or it is something that actually requires you to prove certain that you are respecting certain parameters? This is
how about the innovation factor? Because I'm green, automatically I'm innovative. And if I'm innovative, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm green, but
no.
what would you say?
I I think it's a very good question, because I mean, take take a random product nowadays. Um, of course, there is a a certain laziness also in terms of, or a certain pace in the launch of product. It's if you go back probably one slide.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm sorry. For example, designing products that last longer. No, it's exactly the opposite as what happens now. No?
yeah,
There is what is called a planned obsolescence. So I already know that as a, I don't know, cloth clothing manufacturer, in 6 months we will have a new trend that is going to be like this, and then
yeah.
next year it will be different, and then different, and then different, and then different. So basically I'm planning this product with a very short life cycle. One interesting thing, that for example, let's take again the fast fashion, because it's an easy target to bash. It's like the supreme evil, although something is changing also there. But we are, at the moment, we are buying 60% more clothes than we used to do in the year 2000. 60% more. Uh, each garment lasts exactly half as long.
Wow.
If you consider that approximately 65% of garments are produced of polyester, which is a,
Yeah.
I mean, you need
Plastic.
oil, you need
Yeah.
gas
Yeah.
to produce it. And what happens with this product? They end up in
Well,
landfill. And again, if you have a look at this movie, a short movie that I said earlier, it is shown a little bit what happens with these tons of clothes that we produce and waste every year.
Well, yeah, this is very interesting. I just wanted to share with the audience this part where you highlight some brands like On.
I'm sorry,
Um,
I just want to answer to your question because I actually didn't. You
oh,
said
sorry.
about the innovation.
Oh,
Well,
yes, exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
the innovation, I think, comes in different ways, will come in different ways, will need to come in different ways. For example, it will be an innovation of services. Like if I design a machine that is built to last, any machine, it's not really important. We have some examples later. But if I build a machine that is meant to last as long as possible,
Yeah.
then uh, I will need innovation under the service point of view. So how do I actually update it efficiently, effectively? Um, I will need technologies that will allow me to make processes always more efficient and effective. Efficient, I'm always a little bit hesitant to pronounce this word because usually efficiency implies that you are able to consume more. Uh, so you are allowed to consume more, no? And this is something that we don't want. On the other hand, it's important to see that many new technologies are actually helping towards a greener transition. For example, the Internet of Things. For example, 3D print is something that will probably allow for a much lower resource need of resources, and at the same time, faster mm, production, faster prototyping, more customized production at a fraction of the cost. So, and no mention that the 3D print would potentially disrupt the supply chain. So
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So could we, crown it as one of the greenest and coolest, innovative,
it's always a
yes,
little bit like the use that you do of technology.
yeah,
For example, I mean, blockchain also towards a green goal, a greener goal, is absolutely great. For example, we spoke about traceability of ingredients or
yeah,
through blockchain processes. Fact is that it's not that blockchain uh, is something virtual and so it doesn't consume energy. It does. Right
yeah,
now, uh, basically, it has the same carbon footprint as Lebanon, the whole blockchain. So and it's just bound to grow more and more and more and more. Fact is, how do we make the process more efficient? How do we use it more cleverly? Because if we use it to speculate is one thing, we are still in the old world. If we use it to somehow, as I said, uh, give proof of the origin of an ingredient or to certify a process, it is another part of the story. This goes more into a kind of transparency towards consumers. It really much depends on. We just need to know that everything that we do has an impact.
Do you want to share some of the most impactful, and especially because we're talking about retail here, right? We're talking about the fashion
Yeah,
industry as the one of the. I mean, there's 10%. I think if you look at the if you compare it to other industries, probably the one who we should target the most when it comes to leading the way towards sustainability, because
yeah,
they're far from being sustainable, but
no,
some of them are, and maybe you can share some good practices here.
yeah. I think that I just collected some examples that hit my eye. By no means it's a comprehensive overview on all the
Oh
brands
yeah.
that are doing really well. There are more. Um, for example, Candiani is a denim manufacturer from Milan, if I'm not completely wrong. It's a kind of smallish brand, as far as I know, and they are uh, producing a denim that is elastic. So it has a kind of elasticity. It is all organic cotton, natural rubber that actually makes the the fabric compostable or biodegradable, and
Yeah.
the addition of this percentage of natural rubber, allegedly, I don't know if it's true, but is supposed to make to ease the process of biodegradation,
Yeah.
yes, of the and the production of their um, apparel,
Jeans. Yeah.
of the
Hmm.
jeans, requires 92% less water than what normally happens. So
Yeah.
I think this is a very good example. Mud Jeans is a brand from the UK, I think, and
Okay.
they have something that is growing very popular as a potential mm, um, answer to the need for circularity. That is the subscription model. Basically, you lease a pair of jeans, which
Yeah,
maybe,
which On also has created
yeah,
for their shoes. Yeah. A
uh,
membership where you get shoes to your door, always different and not always new, maybe reused.
the secret behind it is really that you can use your shoes, your sneakers, your running shoes for 6 months, and then you return them. You
Hmm.
pay like a monthly fee, like you do with your Netflix
Yeah. To conserve.
account, and then you get when they are they need to be repaired, or they are old, they get replaced. So, and they basically enter into this circle of um,
And it's a good business
like,
model too.
I'm sorry.
It's also a good business model, profitable for the
It it,
company.
it is. I mean, I don't really know a lot about the figures. I mean, you would need to study them a little
Yeah,
bit.
but it
Because
builds loyalty. Yeah, yeah,
that's another thing that I really find fascinating, because now you are winning if you adopt a subscription model as a business model, then not only your product goes back to the center, but also your brand. And in a world in which brands are looking more and more alike, all have the same purpose, all have the same kind of um, also image, if you want. Uh, I mean, look at B2B products. It's not really pertinent here, but all these software products, you check their websites, B2B
yeah.
software product, they all look alike. They all look
Mm.
alike. There is no, also the websites are exactly shaped the
The
same.
same format.
And this is crazy to, mm, find what you're looking for or orientate
So
yourself.
tell us a little bit about circularity in tech, because this is where you're going, I assume, right? Because you were
Yeah,
talking about
of
Xerox.
course, it's a kind of complicated because, I mean, if you look at a product like an electronics product or a technological product, it doesn't really scream green. It's kind of
Exactly.
complicated to find a future for it. But
Yeah,
for example, Xerox, I think also Canon has been
yeah.
doing it for quite a while. Basically, and especially with their hospital um, machines,
Okay.
they basically adopted a like a leasing model. No, you don't buy, you never buy them
Okay.
as an organization. You know, why do you need to buy like
A
a
printer or a
or,
scanner or
but
yeah,
it is rented,
yeah,
and
and
then
replaced when needed. Yeah. Okay.
this is important because what you want to do, especially when you have a direct contact with your customer, in the case of fashion, as we saw before, the retail is crucial because you have many shops that are your front end, you know.
Yeah.
So basically, you can use them to close these loops, because the real problem is when you cannot close a loop and recycling. Yeah, and if there is no recycling system in place, then it's useless.
It's
No,
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
another point of greenwashing on packaging. No, for example, this plastic is recyclable. Yeah, but first of all, the consumer need to collect it properly. The second thing is that if then it ends up in a landfill because there is no system in place that
Incentivizing the consumer to yeah
or
bring
makes
it
it
back.
possible, then
Yeah.
the loop is open and we are
There
back
is
to
no
square one.
in
So
furniture we see this. No, it's
I'm sorry,
easier.
if you give me just one
Yeah.
second on
Sorry.
this slide here. Um, 90 labs, that is this other picture on is, I wanted to include it because I think they are also doing something really clever, really wise.
Yeah.
They are a Swiss company that
Mhm.
is, I think, among the most successful startups in Switzerland,
Yeah.
uh, and they are. I like to describe them a little bit like the Ferrari of additive manufacturing. So they do the software and the hardware for 3D print.
Yeah.
It is extremely fascinating. And why I put them here? First of all, because in technology, as we said, we don't have a lot of examples that speak of they are green or that are actually, you know, the circular economy is more difficult to apply to this kind of products. But it is to confirm that new technologies can actually uh, enhance a transition or can be like introducing new models of manufacture and create innovation and ultimately also impact on the way we design greener products. They don't offer this specifically as a green feature, and I think that the whole 3D manufacturing, 3D printing, and additive manufacturing is being really considerate in not greenwashing their
Mhm.
technology. They are very considerate, but it is definitely something that might have a positive footprint. Or sorry, not a positive footprint. They are going to have like a positive effect on manufacturing costs and
Yeah.
the resources needed for that for manufacturing.
Doing well, doing good at the same time.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, because some industries are more sort of easy to circular, to do
Exactly.
circular. That's why I was excited about furniture because you can really see it being refurbished in people's mind, right? So other industries are hard to refurbish. I mean, even to reuse. So could it also be the focus for a start? Could it be the could they be paving the way? I mean, how do you see this?
As you say, it is easier in certain industries, although you're never obliged to do that. I mean, IKEA, that was not completely innocent in terms of greenwashing in the past. I mean, they they had some kind of claims that needed to be clarified. On
Yeah.
the other hand, they are a gigantic outlet for products that are made of wood. And
Mm.
one of the things that we usually, um, uh, recognize about IKEA products is that they are not exactly for a lifetime. And no,
True.
I mean, but these, of course, depends also on the specific product. But the great thing I think is that embracing this and turning it into an opportunity. I mean, for example, there is a brand. We are back, I think, into um, the. It's not really fashion. I mean, we are far from there. But again, we are talking about a very commoditized kind of fashion that are diapers for kids. There
Yeah.
is a company that I mean, recognizes that diapers are thrown away. I mean, there is nothing that you can do. And again, they end in landfills. There is very little of
Yeah.
it. Is-
Yeah. This is a challenging product to
Yeah.
recycle.
And this company is called G Diapers. It's an American company, I think, and they produce like a cotton
Okay.
uh, like uh, like a cotton kind of device for kind of fitting it to the kid with a padding like the absorbent padding that once it's wet can be um, flushed and it's completely compostable.
Oh,
I think
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Now that's pretty
yeah.
outstanding. Yeah.
I actually have a personal interest to find out how it works because
You
I'm
have a new
using
point.
it
Eh?
quite a lot at the moment. So
Yeah.
so yes, I mean, recognizing the limit of the industry that you work in, or your way of doing business is clearly, and turning it into an opportunity is clearly a very smart thing to do. IKEA, for example, is um, claimed that they are going to be completely circular by the year 2030. So it is going to be,
Something to watch, and
yeah, something to watch.
hopefully they can pave the way. And then finally, food. Do you want to go there? Shall we go
Well,
there?
yeah, I mean, also food is complicated because, I mean, we waste a lot of food and we all know that.
Yeah.
Um, Creating circularity in food is anyway somehow complicated. I mean, it's clear that food is something that needs to be consumed and not wasted. No? So
Yeah.
the challenge is primarily there. For example, I found a few interesting examples. For example, this beer manufacturer that uh, uses stale bread or bread that is old bread to
Yeah.
craft the beer. Or Too Good To Go. To Go is
Yeah. I
an
know them.
extremely famous
Yeah.
um, app that mm, you know is aimed at reducing food waste in a number of cities. It's a Danish project that is now very popular also in Switzerland, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. I've tried them. Yeah.
Uh, and uh, and in the middle there is a company that I don't even venture myself to pronounce the name because it's a Polish company. I think it's Fort or something like that, that offers like refills on the point of sales. Basically,
Ah,
you
okay.
don't need to buy the product anew every time, but you have this
Yeah.
little station that has dispensers that you can uh,
Refill these. If you
bring
bring it from
your own
something.
packaging
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
One very last point about food. I think that one of the uh, things that we are looking into when we talk about sustainability is also regenerate what somehow has been
Used already once
or,
somehow. Yeah.
and in this respect, there is regenerative agriculture that is going to be very important. I mean, there are great projects. For example, one is from the foundation Fondazione Capellino that has that owns my previous company. That is doing a great job in terms of exploration. And in Switzerland, we also have a one of I think I would say one of the maximum experts in Europe now. That is Daniel Berci. Sorry if I pronounce it uh, in a weird way, but I mean he's teaching me a lot or here on LinkedIn when I read his posts because they are all, I read his book. It's always very interesting, and it's a field in which I'm 100% ignorant. So it's
So you no, I mean, but you know enough to share so much, and I think, well, I think this is the last slide. But what I wanted to also give is some answers because we have a few questions
yes,
to for the from the viewers. So thanks so much for engaging, guys. I have one here that's quite interesting. If the external environmental and or social costs of a product, an industry, would have to be internalized, so they have to take the fall, the company, for whatever innovation they're trying to create. So there would be much less incentive to greenwash. So because being sustainable would be a requirement for making profit ideally, how do you see the role of like governmental agencies to internalize these costs?
unfortunately, unfortunately, it's crucial. There, I say unfortunately because
Yeah, why?
it's not that the political world these days is shining in terms of vision, and I'm saying it on a kind of global perspective. Um, I participated to a conference a couple of weeks ago held by Green Buzz Zurich, and it was shown how, in a certain way, uh, it was basically like a regulation that
Mm,
generated a positive outcome in terms of energy consumption. For example, we started, I mean, the consumption of gas or oil or
yeah.
to heat houses went down since we have better technology to build the houses in the first place. I mean, it's not that as consumers we decided to do that spontaneously. I mean, people don't do that in
Mm,
mass, en masse. And at the same time, we were on the food topic a minute ago, and uh, I read it very quickly, so I apologize in advance if I say something that is not. To every dollar of food sold
mm,
costs $2 to of hidden costs, like for example, to in terms of health costs as well, or you know, something that leans or labor, something that leans on society or on the planet. In so yeah, of course. Here the thing is how much are we ready to pay for a product or service if it is really green. So if
mhm.
my restaurant food like fast food would cost instead of $1 would cost three, would I
Yeah,
still ready to take it? Because this is a little bit what would make companies take on the cost potentially,
yeah,
or at least it would be the minimum reason, like
no,
one of the necessary reasons. On
yeah,
the other hand, we also have to say that um, basically this is what took us to the point where we are now. I mean, believing that something can be quality of spotless quality or of quality good enough and cost a very low amount of money
Yeah.
at the same time, and have it always available, always there at the shelf. I go to the supermarket at 10 to 8 in the evening time, and I want to find my meat, my, this is
Yeah.
not this is not possible. Or if it's possible, there is someone or something that is paying the bill.
Yeah.
In this case, is the planet. In this case, has been uh, a huge part of the population of this planet for many years. So this has to change, and politics, I think, needs to take
To take that,
to guide a little
yeah,
bit.
incentivize the, well, no, this is a really good way to, I suppose, end here because we went a little bit over, but everybody's super excited about the topic. There's so many comments and people thanking for clarifying the understanding of circularity, making sure now, okay, I know what's ESG, what's not, what's greenwashing, what's not. I mean, um, there's no one to blame. There's no one to applaud. I mean, everybody's doing what they can, and some industries can do more than others. So good for them. But it is just good to address those topics and trends. And when you're saying, oh well, for once Europe is the leader, so let us be, innovative
Yeah,
in this regard, and
absolutely, absolutely.
I think in general we can be trendsetters, and I think Claudia would, if she's listening, she would agree. She is of the opinion that Europe is the trendsetter in many ways, especially in this kind of topic, and you confirm that here. Um, so
Uh, the
yeah,
thing is, I mean, we have a huge power that comes from our history, from our knowledge, from our culture. Um, we were not always ace at, taking the lead.
and
We
it
could
could
do
be
that,
an
and,
opportunity.
otherwise there are economies that are allegedly maybe less evolved,
Yeah,
so to speak, and have, mm, they won't start the full circle again. They will start, trying to be innovative in what they do. And
yeah.
if they don't have like infrastructures in place that need, to be refurbished completely or rethought completely, they will have an advantage. So the sooner we move, the better it
The
is. For
better,
Mhm.
absolutely. Absolutely. And having this edge can be very profitable. Do you mind after perhaps sharing in a PDF format your presentation, the link to the movie, maybe some of the
The
references, the books?
resources, the
Yeah,
references. Sure,
that
very
would
happy.
be helpful. I think people will enjoy that because there's so little on the topic and finding the right materials that could be
Yeah.
a good start for the audience to follow is but I just wanted to thank you again for putting this together. This is so comprehensive and clarifying and educational without, bringing solutions to a problem that we know is inevitable. But at least raising awareness about its urgency and its existence. And I, for me, the biggest takeaway is the innovation aspect of it. You can actually be surfing on that, and that's definitely a profitability factor. So
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to take this with me, and I thank you enormously. And
Thank you for having
yeah,
me.
people can find you easily on LinkedIn. You're usually online, and yeah, and we
Uh,
can.
I'm never too far away.
Okay. Oh, also maybe the green buzz because you mentioned them as well. You can also share those links, and people can
Absolutely, absolutely.
be
They
part of
have.
the conversation.
I mean, I think they are trying to promote knowledge
Yeah.
in a way that it's somehow also innovative. There are many, associations or
Yes.
banks that
Yes.
somehow, but I find their approach to the topic, and the way they put together seminars, the way the experts that they invite, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And also the course, I think the course also helped the Cambridge University
Yeah.
sustainability program. I hear a lot of good things about it. Maybe I should just take it on because I keep advising
I mean,
people to do
if
it.
if it was not for that, probably we wouldn't have this
We wouldn't
conversation.
be having this conversation. So, okay, well, a lot of people to thank and share credit with. And again, thank you 100 times for being here and putting this together. It's an honor to have you with us today. And
It was an honor to be here.
I'll see you soon. Yeah,
See you
thank you
soon.
so much.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye bye.